the Ministry of Wrestling, you better hit subscribe.
Moose, how are we doing, man?
How you doing?
Really good to see you, man. If it's cool with you, I've got eight or so questions I'd just like to kick in with for you here. Talk a bit about your history, a bit about how far you've come and what the next steps are, if that's cool.
Oh, good.
Lovely. So, before wrestling, many obviously know this. You were a football player, drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, played for the Rams, played for the Patriots. But can you tell us a bit about why you decided to make the change from football to wrestling?
I've always been a huge fan of pro wrestling, so um, since I was like 8 years old, so it was something I knew I wanted to do when I was 8 years old.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
But how come you started as a footballer then before transitioning into wrestling? Why didn't you just start with wrestling straight away?
Because luckily I was good at football, and football gave me a chance to go to college for free and make a lot of money in the NFL. And I would be stupid to not take that journey and do some of the things and accomplish some of the things that I accomplished in life. But I always knew that at some point that I would, when I've made enough money and done a few things that I wanted to do in life, that wrestling was where I would end up going back to, and that's what I did.
And yeah, it's really nice to see that you always kind of kept that dream in the back of your mind. Huh? So, and you've had quite the career, huge career.
Uh,
And
yeah,
amongst,
some would say,
I would say, I
yeah.
would definitely say this. And, amongst others, you've been part of Ring of Honor, you've been part of New Japan, you've been part of TNA, all of these great rosters. Can you speak a bit about how you need to prepare differently, both physically and mentally, for matches in these promotions?
I don't have to prepare any differently. It's the same mindset, the same attitude, the same preparation. It's like a great coach of mine, Bill Belichick, always said, "It's business as usual." Usual. So I go to every match with the exact same mindset, focus, and preparation.
Have you found that, let's say you're in front of a Japanese crowd versus, a very, very rabid TNA crowd, have you found that you've needed to adjust certain things about your character? Like for some crowds, emphasize the heel factor more, for some crowds, tone it down. Like, how did the crowd?
I wouldn't say the character. I would say more the style of wrestling. Like Japanese style entails different things, and lucha libre style entails different things, and yeah, so you just got to know what country you're wrestling in and what the difference is in their wrestling style, but preparation is still the same.
Mm. How have you found that you need to adjust your style for Japan versus TNA, for instance?
Oh man, that we don't have enough time. There's a lot of explaining with that one, with the different styles. That's like a seminar question where I have to actually break it down for you. But just a quick answer is each style entails different things. You know what I'm saying? Like for instance, in Japanese style, in my opinion, there's really not really a shine or a heat or you know what I'm saying, or comeback is more your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. And there's different things that entails into that. But that's just the basic way of explaining it.
You a fan of the Japanese strong style?
Yeah, I'm a fan of all type of wrestling.
Good answer.
Is whatever floats the fans' boat, whatever they like to see. There. I mean, I'm a fan of everything, so I
Love that.
could do it all. So.
Love that. I have to say, I'd pay a lot of money to see you in a lucha libre style match in somewhere like Triple Mania. I think that would be a blast.
Oh man, just watch my first 4 years of wrestling. That was pretty much lucha libre.
Well,
It wasn't too smart. It wasn't too smart, but it was definitely lucha libre.
this is something I wanted to touch on actually. So amongst others, and speaking of other promotions, correct me if I'm wrong here, but your debut, I believe, was in a bodyguard role for the Bravado Brothers in Dragon Gate.
Yeah.
Were you ever worried? Because the bodyguard role can play out in different ways, can't it? You can have like Dave Batista, who started like that and then went on to superstardom. You can also have people, unfortunately, like Omos, who's had a rougher time going with how he's portrayed as a bodyguard. But when that was your beginning, were you ever worried, like, about almost being pigeonholed and typecast as this is all I can do, when, as you've just said, you can do so much? Or was there always that belief, like, nah, this is just the start?
Well, I was so young in wrestling that I really had no saying to what to believe or not to. I was just trying to do the best that I could with the role that was given to me. But and there's sometimes in wrestling where as a young guy, you just have to shut up and do what you're told to do, and that's what I did at that point. Yeah, I mean, it paid off.
Was there ever a part, while you were, shutting up and doing what you were told, was there ever a part where you thought, ah, man, I've got more to deliver than this? When is the next step? Or did you always know it was coming?
No, I've never been one of those guys who wants more on their plate. I mean, you gotta understand, I've played in the NFL, so I know about being patient and waiting your turn. And I knew that going into wrestling, that things might not be given to me as fast as I wanted. So you just have to keep working and be patient.
Mm.
So I've always been one of those guys to just be patient, just keep working, and when your time comes make the best of it, and that's what I did.
Very good advice, that. So as I said, we met last year at Turning Point, and I'm not a small guy. I'm 6'2", and I was still looking up like that at you going down.
Yeah.
I see why this guy's what he is, man. You're an incredible athlete. So we met during the UK tour. You, despite having that amazing stature, came across very much like a kind, gentle giant, which is, kind of worlds apart from the character you portray. Do you prefer being a heel or a face, and why?
Oh man, I haven't been a face in so long that I don't even know if I even know how to do it. I'm sure I can, but I do think to be a good baby face is harder than being a heel. So my job is actually pretty easy right now. So if I was to ever be a baby face, my job would be a lot harder.
Could you see a situation, or could you envision a situation where they would play you out as a babyface in the coming months or years, or are you very firmly rooted in heel?
I mean, there's different situations and different stories that could be told to have me go baby, but I don't think is necessarily time to do that. I think the system just started. We're a great faction. We're probably the best heels in pro wrestling right now, some would say. And I think it's too early to even try to break us apart or break us up. So, um, but I do see scenarios of people could write that could turn me babyface, but I don't think it's not even close to being the time for that.
Oh, I agree with that completely. Why do you think it's that much harder being a babyface?
It is because there's a lot of things that you have to do. Like, you always. One thing I like about Alex Shelley is, I think, in my opinion, Alex Shelley was the best babyface in pro wrestling because he always was doing something. He never wasn't doing nothing. He was always doing something, like always leaning into the crowd, asking for their energy, like try to get them to try to feed off of them. And I feel like to be a real good baby face, you blow yourself up doing those things, and that's not even wrestling. That's just hand movement and pumping your arms and looking at the crowd and wait. Like it's so much harder physically to be a baby face than it is a heel. If you want to be a real good, if you want to be a good baby face, yeah,
Who would you say the best babyface of all time is?
Alex Shelley.
Oh wow, of all time,
Yeah,
huh?
of all
Damn,
time, yeah. And
damn.
I'm not saying that, and people is gonna look at this and be like, "Oh, you're stupid, Alex Shelley." I'm talking about how he plays a baby. I'm not saying he's the most over baby face of all time. I'm not saying he is the best wrestler of all time. I think what he does as a baby face in betweens is the best I've ever seen from a baby face.
Damn. I like that, man. That's a really cool take. That's a
Yeah.
really, really cool take. Um, and I want to talk a bit about the Moose legacy now. Um, you're the fourth African American wrestler champion, world champion in TNA. If I'm not mistaken, we had Ron Killings, Bobby Lashley, and Rich Swann before you. And to me, it's clear when I watch you wrestle week in, week out, that I'm watching an all-time great make his career in front of my eyes. That's that, and I'm not blowing smoke. Like, if you watch the videos I put on the channel, I praise you in the system literally every week. And I've, aside from meeting you once in Newcastle, you wouldn't know that. I genuinely believe I'm watching an all-time great in front of me. So when Moose finally hangs up his boots, what legacy do you hope to leave in the ring? How would you want people to remember you?
The first thing is once you think of TNA, I'm the first name that comes to your head. And I think as of right now, AJ Styles wear that crown. But once I'm done, I want to take over that place, that spot that AJ has, of being the first guy you think about when you hear the three letters TNA.
What do those letters mean to you?
It means a lot, man. It's a different style or different avenue of wrestling.
Yeah. Would
Yeah.
would you ever want to see the return of the six-sided ring?
No, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of a six-sided ring. I never was. I think it was too confusing and definitely more stiffer. So
Mm,
if there's a way they can make it not as stiff, then sure. But it was still confusing.
right. Which way am I running? How am I
Yeah,
rebounding?
yeah,
How am I setting up the next move? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I just mentioned that I basically sing yours and the system's praises each and every week on the channel. If someone asked me today, I'd pretty much echo what you just said. And someone said, who's currently the best stable in wrestling? Not just the best heels, but the best stable. I
I
think
think easily the system
it really is. Like, people can pull for Bullet Club, people can pull for the
is
Bloodline.
between the system now and the group that Dominic Mysterio's in.
Judgment Day.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's a system. Bullet
Sure.
Club is not really a thing anymore. I don't think. I mean, I don't follow it as much, but I don't hear the name being bounced around a lot anymore. And Bloodline is not as great since Roman left.
Thank you.
Since Roman taking his time off. So the only other great stable out there other than the system is the Judgment Day. I mean, especially with the crossovers going. I mean, who knows? The system versus Judgment Day could be a possible thing now with this crossover going on. So you never know.
Was that a theory or a scoop you just gave me, Moose?
Oh, it's always a theory, never a scoop, especially coming from me because I don't get paid enough to know what the hell is actually going on.
Fair enough. Would that be the dream stable crossover, system versus
Oh
judgment?
yeah, for sure. System versus Judgment Day will be pretty dope. But I mean, I know Ferg and Eddie have history. And people who don't know Ferg, that's Finn Balor,
Mhm.
and Eddie Edwards. They have some history, and I know Myers and Finn real pretty good friends. So yeah, I think that would be a good matchup, a good match.
Oh man, that you literally, that stuff of dreams right there. I got
Yeah.
one more main question for you, and then just a quick fire round. Like, and you allude, I'm sure AJ Styles is going to be on this list based of what you said, but who would be your Rushmore of TNA wrestlers?
Oh, my Rushmore, I get asked this every time, and it's the same. It's one is AJ, obviously. Two will be Chris Sabin. Three would be Abyss, and four would be Jeff Jarrett.
Jeff Jarrett, my man's leaving off Samoa Joe, huh? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's my four. The guy who started the company. Without Jeff, you wouldn't have a TNA. Abyss had plenty of matches named after him
Yeah.
in TNA, so you can't take him out of it. Saban has won the X Division title 10 times, which is It's never nobody's even close to that number. I think the closest person to that number is like at like 4 or 5.
Right.
Uh, and then you have AJ, the guy that you think about when you say TNA. So
Literally. And I
yeah,
think in a few years' time, when I ask this question, you're going to have to find out a way to put yourself in there, man.
yeah.
All right, Moose, to finish off with, I always do this when I'm speaking with the TNA alum. Rapid fire questions. You just give me the first thing that comes to your head when I say these things, fast or, well, as fast as you like. What's the match you're most proud to have competed in?
All of them.
All of them. Love that. What's your cheat meal?
Anything with sugar involved.
Pancakes? Donuts? What are we talking?
Yeah, anything with sugar is
Uh,
anything.
if you had to skip a day in the gym, like chest day, back day, leg day, what day would it be? What would you skip?
The day I just do cardio.
Just cardio day, huh? Okay,
Yeah.
sweet. Which wrestler has your favorite ring entrance music, past or present?
Um, oh man, I don't know. I'll say since he's over as fuck right now, I'll say Joe Henry.
Like that, yeah. I love that. But what about your dream match with any current wrestler?
Dream match versus any current wrestler.
Yeah,
Oh, it would have to be somebody I haven't wrestled before, right?
yeah.
Um, and this is a hard one. Um, Brock Lesnar.
Oh, dream indeed. What about your dream match with any wrestler who either no longer wrestles or who has sadly passed away?
Um, Razor Ramon
Mm.
or Razor Ramon or Macho Man.
Oh, beautiful choices, man. The stiffest opponent you faced?
Matt Cardona.
Hardest chopper?
Uh, Tommaso Ciampa.
Nice. And the most gifted opponent you faced?
Probably Ricochet.
Your favorite wrestler of all time?
Razor Ramon.
And your favorite match you watched growing up?
Uh, Probably it's between two matches: Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior or CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar.
That's cool, man. Well, Moose, that brings us to an end of this. I wanted to thank you so much, leader of the system. I trust the system. I love everything you're doing, man. Thank you so much for speaking us today on Ministry of Wrestling. Cheeky favor. Do you think you could put the Ministry of Wrestling channel over? You're watching the Ministry of Wrestling. Hit subscribe.
You're watching the Ministry of Wrestling. You better hit subscribe.
My man, thank you so much, Moose. I really thank you, man. And look, it's been blessed talking to you. I can't wait for if/when you guys do make it over to the UK again. Guaranteed, man.
Yeah, I can. I'm looking forward to it myself.
Can't wait, man. Thank you so much for your
Same.
time, Moose. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye.